Purpose here today is essentially to try to change the dynamic, really not just in asbestos bankruptcies where it seems to be worse, but in all big Chapter 11 cases where it has gotten to be such an incredibly time-consuming and costly process that you can't afford to go broke anymore. It's just gotten too expensive. And when you stop and look at what the average asbestos bankruptcy is costing, soup to nuts, in terms of fees, it's really rather remarkable. For example, I went back and looked at the USG and Armstrong cases that I oversaw while I was in Delaware. USG, where they did a considerable amount of fighting over how the claims process was going to be handled, cost about $151 million from beginning to end in terms of total fees. Armstrong cost about 145. It's hard to add these things up because one of the problems is you have what has been euphemistically called ordinary course professionals who are kind of off balance sheet in these cases. So you really can't tell how much is really going out the door because of those professionals not really being accounted for entirely. But anyway, those are round off numbers. And then you get to cases like Federal Mogul, which I had for a while. When I had it, it was pushing $9 million a month out the door in professional fees. I would be surprised if that case cost less than $300 million. Dana, which is a more recent case, cost at least $200 million. And I would hate to imagine what W.R. Grace's cost. I couldn't even imagine, actually. Our proposal is this, that within the next 60 days, within the first 60 days of the case, that we should hold a scheduling conference at which certain topics would be discussed. Maybe it's the first 30 days, maybe you stretch that out to 45 days, but you do it before you've got everybody appointed and on the clock. Because once you get people appointed, they're going to spend time doing something, even if there's nothing going on in the case. And when you look at one of these asbestos cases, there are huge quantities of time where nothing appears on the docket sheet except monthly fee applications and notices of appearances and transfers of claims. That's all you'll see, mostly, in many of the docket sheets. But somehow this money's being expended, and I'm sure it's all very worthwhile, but it all adds up.
There's also constraints upon bankruptcy judges. I probably will make some people happy in this room, but certainly in the circuit where I sit, and I'm sure also in where Judge Newsom sits, or he sits in various places. I seem to stay in one place. It's been wonderful to have him in different courts. You know, we've been told over the years, as it's developed, that attorneys' fees are based on market models, and you know, it's not rules of economy that dictate in Chapter 11 cases. And obviously that has developed because you want to have the best professionals that you can in a case. So we have some constraints in terms of controlling the fees by way of imposing non-market models, but I think what we can do is we can shorten, or hopefully shorten, the time that these cases are in front of us, because we have cases that are in front of us not for years, but you know, upwards of a decade or more. So we're talking about cases where I've seen people get married, have kids, you know, maybe their kids all have kids. I mean, it's been wonderful. You know, you get to know people very well, and we're like one big family. But the burn rate in these cases is enormous. And so I think what we have to do is deal with the fact that we have professionals whose time is valuable, but the amount of time to get from the filing to the confirmation hearing in some of these cases, we have to find ways to shorten them. I think what we're trying to develop is teeing up issues early in the case and finding efficient models.